break.
Yeah.
JP?
Yeah, just a question in relation to Jonathan's comment with regard to the performative kind of privileging writing indicated and not being so good for the visual or
yeah.
And I just wanted to, from an art historian's point of view, I just want just to elaborate on that. I mean, I think there are things that performative is useful for the visual, but and then also in connection to what Herman was saying in your chronology of the reception of Derrida and what he was doing, there was no mention of art, or because I mean Derrida was quite silent on art. I mean, he was quite conservative, one could say. I mean, he lived through a massive change from '68 on, and his writing has been profoundly influenced for that change, but yet he didn't write on that. Now, I don't know if you have any reflections on that. So it's
well, he did write on art. He wrote quite a lot.
But I don't. I mean, on the art of his time.
Yeah, he did write about artists contemporary with his own time as a philosopher. He did do that.
Yeah, well,
he wrote about Adami, normally his friends. That's what he wrote about.
Yeah.
Adami was his friend. Titus Carmel.
Right in inspection, the photography.
Marie-Françoise Plissard, yeah, right. Françoise Plissard. But to answer your question, in the first part of your question, in the interviews with Bernard Stiegler, ecographies, which, funnily enough, appeared in writing. It always struck me strange that they didn't appear. They weren't released as like a DVD. It was filmed in Ina, I think, in the Institut National Visuel. And it was filmed. These things were filmed, so the transcription was made from the film, and it was released as a book, not as a DVD, which always struck me as strange. In that text, he talks about, I think it's this text, he talks about having given a class in the States, and he'd had work submitted to him in the form of a video. So 2 students came and handed in an essay in the form of a video. So Derrida is now faced with a decision. Am I going to accept this work for marking? Am I going to assess it? Or am I going to give it back? And he took it away for a while. He looked at it. Then he gave it back and says, I'm not going to mark it. Because it doesn't do what you can't do in writing. So the justification for the students having used video would have had to have been that it does something that writing cannot do. So the fact that it's a video is not enough. It has to have been saying or doing something that couldn't be said or done in the essay form. So I'm a bit
No, I see what you're saying now.
skeptical about that. And then when he talks about that, when he gives a kind of justification of it in this interview, he appeals to the notion of knowledge before the image. And I'm thinking, he doesn't explain what this is. I've never heard him. I think it's the only place I've read him say something like that, saying something like that. Knowledge before the image. That he thinks that writing has a certain kind of set of protocols and standards that he wants to adhere to in the university, and that if these are going to be brought into question, then there has to be something else that's done by the medium in which it's brought into question.
Certain kind of medium specificity or like a privilege?
No, it's not a medium specificity, because elsewhere he talks about video being when he's in this Gary Hill video. He was in a Gary Hill video called Among the Jars, and when he wrote a short text about that, and he asked himself, what is video? And in the end, he says, I don't know what video is, but he said, if it's anything, maybe it's a repetition of all the other medium-specific ways of making art. Maybe it rewrites all these different ways of doing art. Maybe that's what. So it's not medium-specific. It's kind of because it's this kind of this. What does he call it? He calls it the double bind of chance and threat, which he talks about, this autoimmunity, and that it brings with it, if it's new, it brings with it the chance of something new, but also the threat of the repetition of the very worst. So you end up repeating all the stuff that was done in all the other mediums. Art's having said something in the medium just gets repeated by video.